clinical social worker, and I worked in Britain. I'm Scottish, you can probably tell that, but I'm also Canadian, of course. I've lived here now for I don't know, close to 40 years. And I have lived all of my time in Canada, either in Oshawa or so I'm here in Whitby, like many of you, perhaps, and my specialty in social work was always in mental health and addictions, and I've been in many different positions at Lakeridge Health, and about I don't know, 10, no, it's probably more like 14 years ago, I became very interested in meditation, and because of my own difficulty in coping with anxiety and stress. And I had had problems before with it, but I got interested in doing breath work, and that led me to meditation. And then I decided to do training. So I've been trained at the University of Massachusetts Medical School, and I did a certification program there that took me a few years because I was doing it while I was working. And it was also very expensive. And it's led me now to in my retirement, I no longer work full time, and I am working a little bit in counseling because that's my forte, and I do some training programs in using meditation as a way of helping people cope with anxiety and stress. So as Sue has said, I've done some work with the Whitby Library, and in the last year, I was eager to offer some work as a way of contributing to the community that I live in. That's very important to me in terms of my value system. And so here I am. There's been some recordings. We will record this session, and I will give you some references. So the very first thing that I am going to do is I am now going to invite each of you. We're going to do a small practice on awareness of breathing. And this is, the intention is to bring your attention to your breath. So to set this up, it's important that in any breath work, you bring awareness to your posture. So you always want to have your spine, you want it to be straighter, because most of the time we are either curved in, or our posture typically is often not that great, and I include myself in that. So you want your spine to be straighter, not stiff, not rigid, and so that your upper torso is opened. And your shoulders, you probably can see my shoulders. So often I lift them up to my ears. I count to 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I let them go. Because again, tension and the stress of our lives, we often have them slightly raised or curved in. So we just want to nip back a little bit and lower them. Okay. I close my eyes. That's my habit. So you're welcome to do the same, or if you want to, you can keep them open. And I will instruct us as we go along. So your feet are firmly on the ground. Your spine is straighter. Your upper torso is more open. And I will ring my bell just to bring our attention to the breath. So bringing awareness to this moment, but you're just allowing yourself to settle, because we had this kerfuffle around the technology, getting it sorted out. So just offering yourself a moment to settle in here. And if we hear sounds, which we probably are going to, just gently bring yourself back. And now we're going to place our attention on the breath, and we're going to follow the breath simply as it is. So following the breath as it's coming into the body, moving through the body, right to the very end of an inhale. There's a tiny pause, and then the beginning of an exhaling breath. So following a breath coming in, lots of air coming into the body, right to the end. There's this lovely silent pause, and then it converts into an exhaling breath, right to the very end. So it's very repetitive, coming in and then going out. And we are not concerned about how we are breathing. We're simply bringing awareness to a breath coming into the body and then going out of the body. And so we're inviting ourselves to notice. That's the very first thing that we do, because we're trying to develop a relationship with the breath. If we get pulled away by the sounds or by thoughts, because there's lots of chatter going on, we gently return to wherever the breath is, and we continue following it. So coming in and going out. We don't need to force it. We don't need to try to work it in any way. We simply follow and let the breath lead. So now the invitation is to feel it. Can you feel the breath? So, do you feel your lungs filling up? Do you feel the rib cage expanding? And do you feel the body as when you start to exhale, how it kind of, goes inward? And then when you breathe in, it's like a balloon, right? We're filling up. And then again, on an exhale, it's like it starts to deflate. It's like oceans, it's like waves in the ocean, right? A wave comes in, right to the very end, then it goes back out. So sometimes it's helpful to have a visual. So now I'm going to invite you to put your hand on your chest and your hand on your belly. So when you breathe in, and then when you breathe out, what do you notice? Where is your breath the most vivid? So does your belly rise and fall, or does your chest rise and fall? Again, we are observing. We're not judging. We're not saying, oh gosh, am I getting this right? None of that. We are connecting to the breath as it is right now. Again, if you're pulled away with some thoughts about what you're doing, or sounds, or perhaps even sensations in your body as you're sitting, you just note that, and then very gently you return. And at the sound of the bell, you bring yourself back into the next moment of the session. So I'm curious to know, either if you wanted to do it in the chat, where did you notice your breath? Was it at the belly? Was it at the chest? Was it a mixture, perhaps? Yeah, okay, so some people it's in the belly. Okay, that's good. In the chest and the belly. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. So quite often, people will say that they experience it mainly at their chest. So let me just chat a little bit. So in terms of looking at your pattern of breathing, it's always helpful to sometimes do that small exercise to know where you are experiencing your breath the most vividly. Most people probably may think it's strange to say, do you have a relationship with your breath? And I would say that when we're children, when we're babies in particular, right? When you watch a baby, their belly is just rising and falling because they are breathing at the abdomen level. And that we lose that as adults for all sorts of different reasons. So anybody that can experience their breath at their belly, this is a very good thing. So why is it a good thing? Because it helps with calming the central nervous system. It helps with the particular branch of the central nervous system, which is called the autonomic system. And it's got two branches. One is the sympathetic, and the other is the parasympathetic. So when we get anxious in today's world, many of us are very anxious and we easily get hijacked. We easily get tense. We easily get into a mode of being uptight because so much of our living, we're not in any form of control over it. There's a ton of stress and things are very unpredictable. So often that sympathetic branch of the central nervous system gets agitated, it gets worked up. So that's when our blood pressure starts to go up. That's when our digestive system slows down. That's when we start to, get sweaty, or we certainly our body temperature goes up. That's when hormones begin to secrete and they curse through the body. So we need to find ways of calming ourselves, of steadying ourselves. So the parasympathetic branch of the central nervous system will be much quieter, will be much calmer. It will help ground us if we can, in fact, breathe from the belly. The other things is that it will help activate a relaxation response. So when we are more relaxed, we can process information, we can gather data, we can understand information better, we cope better if we are calmer and we are steadier. So the breath has got a huge amount of value. I mean, I personally think it has been understated, I think, far too much. I mean, athletes are very used to having a rhythm, and for it to help them, steady them, and energize them so that they can utilize it so that their body works more effectively. But generally, the majority of us quite often will go to the chest, it will be more shallow breathing. And unless we're conscious, it will not involve going to the abdomen. So one of the practices that I'll do in a few minutes will be belly breathing. I mean, the other aspects that I think are very understated is that if our breathing is steady, if it's deeper, it's going to help us regulate not only our physiology, like our blood pressure, but it's also going to help regulate our emotions. So you will often read, I mean, there's been lots of studies done on the effectiveness of the physiology of breathing and how it's very, very helpful in terms of regulating our our blood pressure, regulating our stress, regulating, sorry, the hormones, the bad hormones that will, make our body do things that aren't particularly helpful for it. And it's wonderful, I think, for sleep. So there's lots of research that if you're interested in looking that up, then I would be a strong advocate of doing it. But the key is to practice. Okay, so I'm conscious of my time and I need to keep moving along here. So let me just introduce belly breathing. So when you inhale, okay, when you inhale, I'm going to instruct you to inhale through your nostrils. And your nostrils are a great filtration system. So you're going to be invited to breathe through your nostrils. So there's lots of little tiny hairs, and it starts to cleanse the air that you start to breathe in. It cleanses it and it warms it. So you're going to breathe, you're going to close your mouth, you're going to inhale through the nostrils and out through the mouth. So what this does is it then lends itself to an exchange of gases internally. So we breathe the air in, this brings oxygen in. This is a very, very good thing. We don't do that enough. And when we exhale, there's an exchange of gases that go on, and we release toxins. We release the carbon dioxide, which is essential to do that. So if we're walking, right, if we're walking and we're in a good rhythm with our walking, or perhaps some of you may run, you might do some form of exercise, you're going to get some of that. That will naturally happen as you move your body, or you do some movement or yoga. These are all wonderful ways of self-care and making our bodies much healthier. So we want to try to balance the intake and the outtake with a deeper breath. This is good physiologically and is good for what goes on for the brain. Okay, so again, shoulders, right? Go to go to your posture, right? Often our postures prevent us from breathing well, or tight clothes, or a certain mood. So these are all little things to be aware of and perhaps bring into the moment. So I try to do breath work every day, just to let you know. And I try, even if it's only for 2 or 3 minutes, I try to do it. I always do it every night. Yeah. So I'll try to give an example of what I do, if I can manage that before 8 o'clock. Okay, so you've got your posture, and let me just think for a moment. Let me just pause for a moment to set this up. You can do this sitting down, by the way. You can do it lying down. You could even do it probably standing. I think most of the time I would probably do it sitting, or I would do it lying down. Sometimes it's helpful to put your hand on your belly so that you can feel it. I'll leave that up to you to decide. Yeah. So the very first thing that you're going to do is exhale, because that will allow us to then have an intake of an inhale. Okay, so this is what I would do. I'll do it about 3 times. Then I'm going to inhale through my nostrils, close my mouth, inhale through the nostrils. Then I'm going to breathe out. I'm going to do it 3 more times. Inhale through the nostrils. And exhale. And again. You might want to count. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we just return to your normal breath. So of course I forgot to mention one thing in my explanation. So while you're just doing your normal breath work, let me say something else about belly breathing, and then we'll do it again. So the diaphragm, where is the diaphragm? The diaphragm is at the base of your lungs. And when you breathe in, like we just did through the nostrils, the diaphragm moves down, it contracts, and there's a space left that you're filling up as you're breathing in. And then when you're breathing out, when you're exhaling, the diaphragm then moves back up. So the key is that we get more air, more oxygen in, because the diaphragm is contracting. So that's why abdomen breathing is very healthy, why it's going to allow us to oxygenate our brain and our body. So that was kind of an important part I should have added on when I was talking about the nostrils. Yeah. The other thing that sometimes I do is I put my tongue behind the upper part of my teeth, the upper ridge. That you might want to do that, you might not. I'll leave that for you to decide. Anything I do that you don't feel comfortable with, don't do it. Just either listen to it or stop. Yeah, just do 2 breaths. Okay, so again, posture, shoulders, do you need to crunch them up? Just let them go. Just take a moment to really to gather yourself. And again, okay, so we're going to breathe in. Then breathe out. Now I'm going to add in the counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 3, 2, 1. Then breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's like a balloon. Breathing in, 2, 4. Breathing out, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then just return to normal breathing. And perhaps
Joan, if I may ask, so it's only 4 seconds in and 4 seconds out?
No, I'm just adding on counting, which I sometimes do and sometimes I don't do. Just breathing into your normal range and then just breathing out. The key is to close your mouth, breathe through the nostrils, and simply breathe out through the mouth. And if you want to add on your own counting, you can do that. Yeah, we'll all have a different rhythm, Sue. So thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, yeah. My rhythm might be completely different to anybody else's, and that's okay. I'm just sort of demonstrating it. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, that was a good thing to ask, actually. Yeah, so I wasn't sure if anybody wanted to ask me anything about that. So I might practice that for perhaps a couple of minutes. And if ever I felt lightheaded or dizzy, then I would stop immediately. And I just go back to my own pattern of breathing. So it's important to practice. Yeah. If you practice when you're feeling okay, always remembering to exhale, always exhale 2 or 3. That's you getting rid of some of those toxins that build up in the system. So often if we breathe at our chest level, it often enhances anxiety. I found that very revealing, actually, many years ago when I found that out, that it actually will enhance, because you're not getting that exchange of gases. You're not bringing in the oxygen that you need to. And sometimes when we're trying to develop a new habit in our life, we do need to spend a little bit of time, say in the morning or in the evening, whatever suits you. And we need to practice. We need to make that commitment to practice, so that when we do get jacked up, when we are driving on the 401 and you know you're not having a good day, or something has happened, or you're scared you've got COVID-19 or whatever, we can go to the breath, and it can help steady. It can help regulate us. So I can't emphasize that enough. When we try to do it at the time of that our anxiety is heightened, it often will not work, because we're shallow breathing, we're agitated, we're kind of feeling panicky. So we need to develop the skill when we're feeling a lot better. And then you'll be able to access it, which is true for any type of skill that you're trying to develop. I added in the counting. I don't know why I did that, actually. I wasn't intending to do it then. Counting, but when we get distracted by chatter, thoughts, thoughts are there because they're part of our human experience. But when the chatter takes over, or you think you're not doing it right, or you say, oh, I can't be bothered, whatever intrudes, counting is a way of just stabilizing yourself. You can then concentrate on the counting, and the counting you can do in different ways. Maybe it might be 1, 2, 3, out, 1, 2, 3. Sometimes I do 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Sometimes I might do longer than that. Yeah.
And is there a number day you'd recommend doing that to get into the habit of it or to try it out?
I would try to do it every day. I try to make a commitment to do it every day for,
Just once for a few
oh no, I try to do it for a minute or two. I would set a little timer for myself, and I would select the time, that would work best. I try to do things like, brushing my teeth in the morning, getting ready. Sometimes I'll just steady myself with a few breaths. It kind of anchors me into the day. And I'll do it tonight later on before going to my bed. So when I am exhaling, I am letting go. I am actively saying to myself, I am letting go. Sometimes it's a very specific thing because something has happened in the day and it's not been good. And I want to actively let that go. I don't want to take that to my sleep. So I sit on the edge of my bed, and I do that. I do the 4, 7, and 8 breath, which I'm now going to do with all of you. And I do 2 rounds of the 4, 7, and 8. So to acquire a habit, you need to make a commitment to doing it. And I think that's always such a great question. How do you acquire this stuff? So, what's a minute? What's a minute? What's a minute and a half? So you start off small, and then you build on it. But consistency is always the key. Yeah, consistency. So I remember I worked with somebody in therapy, and he said, I do 5 rounds. I do 5 breath works. He did 5 rounds of belly breathing. So just what we did, he did that 5 times, and then he got himself ready for work. And then often when he got to the car park, he did another 5. It was just a steadying of himself because he had overwhelming anxiety. But remember, exhale first, because often when we try to inhale and we're agitated, it won't work. We'll go into like a hyperventilation, and you want to prevent that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Did anybody else want to ask anything?
I have a question in the chat, please. And the question is hyperventilating when our breath is shallow?
Well, it starts off with how would you say hyper? It's when you can't get a breath, right? You're sort of going, you can't steady it. You can't really do anything at that point. I mean, that's when you kind of, go and get a brown bag and you try to blow into it as a way of trying to relax a little bit. Yeah, is that answering the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, there's,
And since you brought it up, does the paper bag work?
yes, it does. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's a great question to ask yourself in the course of a day, where is your breath? Where is it? Because you can experience your breath in lots of different parts of your body. You can experience your breath in your back. You can experience your breath, in the front of your body, in the back. And where is it? Because your breath will tell you lots of things about where you're at. If you're breathing more smoothly, smoothly. Like sometimes my breath can be rough, and quite often that's associated with this, this doing mode in life. Do. You're on a treadmill sort of thing, and I so. If I go to my breath, that will tell me many things, and then I can take some action. And so obviously it's developing awareness. There's no question about that. Perhaps getting into the habit of asking yourself, where is my breath? What's my breath telling me right now? What do I need to do about it? And know that your breath can release tension. Um, if you're staying with your breath, say for a minute, that's quite a long time, a couple of minutes to stay with your breath. You might naturally find out, where you're holding some tension, and you might be able to take your breath to the tension and do what we just did, a belly, doing abdomen, a deeper breath, right? Remember that we want the diaphragm to contract. That pushes the belly out. More space opens up in the body. We can get more oxygen in, and we can maybe send that to wherever the tightness and tension is. But that perhaps would come after you had practiced for a while. I mean, belly breathing, you will get that easily on YouTube. It's called belly breathing, diaphragmatic breathing. You plug them in, and you'll get really good instruction. Yeah. But perhaps it's to remember what it does. That if we breathe deeper, we want that belly really to be moving out, just like that baby, right? Babies go up and they go down. But as we get older, right, a child, as we develop, we start to think, and that often changes a lot of things in life. I mean, that's a good thing. We're some thoughts perhaps are unhelpful, but that's another dimension. Yeah. So let me. The other thing I didn't plan to do this, but I think I can do the other two breaths, is straw breathing. Straw breathing is very simple. Okay, so pretend that you've got a straw. I know we're getting rid of straws, but anyway, for the purposes of helping us breathe, think about a straw. And again, you're going to breathe through your nostrils, and you're going to maybe even do a like you're breathing through a straw. And sometimes that visual is very helpful. Um, and I find that people quite like that actually, people that never really thought they would do breathing, or, again, the inevitable, you're driving and it's just, I mean, it's horrendous driving on the 401 these days. So, yeah, that people, that tunes them in to just slowing down that system. And when we slow down, when we calm ourselves, our emotions are not so easily triggered. We're feeling a little bit more in control. We're a bit more in the pilot seat, the driver's seat, for want of a better metaphor. And that's a much better feeling than, like, oh my, like frantic. So remember, think of the straw. Um, another tip would be always when you lengthen your exhaling breath. So this is the segue into the last breath exercise. When you lengthen an exhaling breath, you are going to relax your body and relax your mind. So that's what we're going to do next. So try to remember that. So when you inhale, you might do that to the count of 4, 3, whatever your body feels that it can do at that time. The more you practice, the more that you'll feel at ease with what you take in. When you exhale, you want to, so say you inhale for 4, you're going to then exhale, say double that amount of time. Or you might do 6. You're eventually going to relax your system. So the 4, 7, and 8 breath ratio is again very important. 4, 7, 8. You will get this from Andrew Weil, Weil, and he does a wonderful explanation for about 2.5 minutes on the 4, 7, and 8 breath. And so the 4, 7, and 8 breaths, you're going to, again, you would close your mouth, inhale through the nostrils. Remember, that's a good filtration system. That's important. And then you're going to hold your breath for 7. And then you're going to exhale. So immediately, that's quite a challenging thing to do. So when you're new to that breath, you might end up speeding up the counting. So I will demonstrate it. Okay, so the very first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to exhale. I'm going to put my tongue above the upper ridge of my upper teeth, and I'm going to then I'm going to inhale for 4, close my mouth. Then I'm going to hold it for 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then exhale for 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that could be challenging to do that. And we're just going to do 4 rounds of the 4, 7, and 8. So this has been well researched. It's a great breath work for anxiety. If you at any time feel any lightheaded or dizziness, you always stop because you've just taken in a bit too much oxygen too quickly. Okay, so again, shoulders, posture, feet are solidly on the floor, and we're going to exhale 3 times. Inhale for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale once more. 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the last one you'll do on your own. And then return to normal breathing. Yeah, and then you just check in with yourself. Yeah. So I do that every night. Then I pause like how I'm doing right now, and then I do another count of 4. And that's as much as I would do of an evening. And if you're interested in that breath, if you are, you would do, I would highly recommend that you only stick never any more than 2 rounds of 4. And see how you are with that. You would do that probably for a month before you would extend it. If I could say to you, when you hold your breath, right? So count up for 4, hold, and then count. Okay. So when you do that, there is a buildup of oxygen in your bloodstream, and that is a very good thing, because then that's circulating in your body. So this is a good thing to do.
Do you see that question, Joan? When you exhale, regulate it or allow it to burst?
Yeah, well, you're trying to, I'm not sure I understand that actually. When you exhale, do you regulate it or allow it to burst? Well, you're going to let go, and maybe it feels like it needs to burst out of you, perhaps, but you would just let it go. And the more that you practice it, the more that you will gain control over that, if that makes sense. Yeah, you don't. Yeah, you have to do a little bit of a training of it, I would say. So if you can't count to 8, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. This is only a beginning process. And, if you can, count to, if you get to 5, that's fine. And if the more you practice that, you will find that you can extend it. I mean, I can remember at the beginning, sometimes I would do, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it might only last until 5, because I hadn't exercised. I wasn't taking in enough air. My pattern had gotten very bad. I'd got into some bad habits with my breath. I was, stuck. It was like stuck. I was, my body was tight, really. I don't know if that answers your question, Lisa. Does it? Yeah. So it is 7:54. And I'm always highly respectful of people's time. And I'm fine to go on until about 8:05, by the way, because we lost a few minutes. We lost at least 10. Yeah, somebody else has to leave. Yeah, so that's fine. Please, thank you for being here. I think there was somebody else asked another question. Sorry, wait a minute, holding your breath. I don't think that, did you want me to answer that question about holding your breath? I thought I did answer it actually. Okay, when you hold your breath, I have been told by learned people that you build up some oxygen, and that's a good thing to do. I thought that I had answered it. Okay, but maybe I have not. Well, you don't mind an extra 5 minutes. Okay, that's fine. I'll do an extra 5 minutes. Okay, so some people have to leave, which is normal, of course. You were only asked to. Have I answered the question about holding your breath? I need somebody to.
So I've been paying attention. I don't remember answering a question about holding your breath.
Okay, so someone has asked a question about that. And I thought I had answered it, that when I did the 4, 7, and 8, where I am encouraging, yes, Derek, when I'm encouraging people to do that 4, 7, and 8 breath, and you're holding it, this is a good thing to do. Yeah. So oxygen is building up in your system. So you're bringing it up, you're holding it, and then it's circulating it. So starting out tomorrow, should we do belly breathing then, or the 4, 7, and 8? Well, I would start off with doing some belly breathing. Yeah, yeah. I wanted to give you two commonly used breath exercises. that it's easy for you to get the instruction, because you need to get the instruction. And I would start off with doing, and if you're anxious, why don't you simply, yes, do belly breathing for a month. That's right. Designate a time. You know, you want to try to build up to maybe 3 minutes a day, but you would start off with 1 or 2 minutes. 1 minute would be great. Consistently do it, see what that feels like, and then add on to it. Absolutely. And I would experiment. Why don't you do the 4, 7, and 8 breath? I do a breath exercise, yeah, with my husband. So I've brought in somebody else to. I did it with kids when they were at home. They're not anymore, but when they were younger. So I just tried to, make it interesting, and knew that this was a healthy thing for me to do and for others to do, and it's to get in, it's to be curious and to be playful with it. Yeah, this is something that I'm suggesting is a way of dealing with some stress, to help us get through this wild life that we're leading, and which, it's enormously challenging. Um, uh, um, okay, so I've still got 20 people here. So let me say to you that I wasn't going to do any more sessions, and because I have to work with the library on this. Start in the morning or the night. I do whatever you can do. Whatever you can do, Anne. I would yeah, whatever you can do. And they're both good times to do it. If you've got the time to do it in the morning, do it in the morning.
And a question, will it help when sleep won't come?
Yeah, well, yeah, sure, of course it will. Yeah, it will. It because it's going to regulate you. So if you cannot sleep, if you're struggling to sleep, for sure, you go to your breath, and keep, so you'll get distracted because you're probably thinking of stuff, right, which is keeping you awake. Let's face it, in the early hours of the morning, we often get triggered into thinking all sorts of things, right? This is common, we all experience it. And again, there's a lot involved with your sleep. Like sleep hygiene is important if it's a common issue for you. But the breath would be one way of your attention, taking your attention to the breath and following it. You only need to follow your breath. Yeah, that's an interesting question. What position? And you know what? I can't remember right now what is the best position. If it's right, if it's the right position where your organs are in a. You might have to look that up, because I recall studying that, and I just can't bring it to mind right now. What kind of position would be best in bed? There is a position which, if you look that up, you'll find it. Should normal breathing be with your mouth closed? Well, I give instructions for the 4, 7, and 8 breath to keep your lips closed, and to encourage you to go to your nostrils. Yes, that's what I did with, I believe, both of the breaths. Yeah, yeah. Should normal breathing be with your mouth closed? Um, um, So it's not to do it too tight. It's just to press your lips closed to encourage your breath through your nostrils, to breathe through your nostrils. Yeah, because we have a tendency to breathe through our mouth. The other thing, that I think can be very helpful is that when you're breathing in, it's helpful to visualize or have a bit of a mantra about, you're bringing in something good into your body and into your brain. So you're bringing something good. Again, it's a way to enhance, air, oxygen. I often think of oxygenating everything in my body. And when I'm breathing out, I'm letting go. Sometimes I say words like, crap, or I just say, nonsense or the garbage. I'm just letting it go. And sometimes it's just as broad as that, and sometimes it's not. And or I'm just letting go. I'm letting go because my body is tight, and the breath helps me to do that. So again, breathing in for 4. And then as we're breathing out, I'm giving myself permission to let go. I don't need to let it go because I'm going to go to bed. I need to rest. I need to restore. So it's like a self-care, or kindness, When I'm breathing in, I'm bringing in kindness, a befriending attitude. And then when I'm breathing out, I'm still, more kindness, more befriending, more tenderness, because we need that just now. We're cut off from people. You can't hug people, so it's very important that we try to do our best. It's just you can only do your best, to look after ourselves. Yes, it will. It will. Yes, it will help. I mean, I've had lots. I've got heart disease, and I've had lots of problems with my heart. So, will this deep breathing slowly lower our blood pressure? Yes. Lots of studies. And your heart rate. It'll steady your heart rate. So I can lower my blood pressure. I've been doing it now for 20 years. But yes, it's possible. I mean, would a cardiologist, a cardiologist would like that. They still want to prescribe medication, I think, but for sure, to take charge of that for yourself, to be able to steady, right? To steady ourselves. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's lots of studies in cardiology about breath work. Yeah. I hope I've answered your questions. So is there time, Sue, to do a small practice? Um, or should I just close up now because it's almost 5 minutes after 8?
Well, I tell you what, I'd enjoy closing with a practice. How
Okay.
about if folks are able to stay on, please stay on. And if you're not, feel free to close out, and thank you so much for coming.
And so just before I do that, I can do something in 3 or 4 minutes. Just to let you know, I will do something in February again. It won't necessarily be on the breath, but I will include something on the breath, and I'm happy to do another session. The library has to direct that and go from there. Yeah.
And just to segue there, Joan, because it's the perfect segue. I wanted to say that for those folks who enjoyed tonight's session and want to have another session with Joan on a different aspect, we have one booked, same time, same place, and it's attitudes for managing stress during COVID, and that happens on February the 23rd at 7 p.m. So please register for that if you like and get your link, same as you did for tonight. That's Tuesday, February the 23rd at 7 p.m. Back to you, Joan.
And that's a longer session. That's a 90
An
minutes.
hour and a half, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So I'll just ring my bells and perhaps listening to the bells. So bringing a gentle awareness to this moment. Awareness of your posture. Sometimes when things are difficult in our life, sometimes going to the posture, going to the feet, feeling the stability of the feet on the floor. And perhaps your buttocks being supported as the body is being supported by the chair. And taking a moment just a moment of gratitude. You know, it's so incredibly important to offer yourself a thank you, an appreciation. You know, the library, this is a good thing that they do, but you're here, and that's the important thing. So offering a moment of gratitude to yourself, new learning. And now expanding to our awareness to include the breath. So again, back to where we started, following the breath as it is, coming into the body. It moves through the body, tiny pause, and then it starts to exhale all the way down to the end. And it starts again, coming in, moving through, silent pause, converts into an exhaling breath. Perhaps as we're breathing in, we might want to breathe in gratitude, breathe in thankfulness. And as we're breathing out anything that we want to let go of today is not helpful. Again, breathing in support, respect. And then as we convert that, those gases exchange, and then we're breathing out right to the very end. Just letting go of something that you don't need right now. And if you're pulled away because of thoughts, chatter, the busyness of the mind, for sure. And if you get pulled away, don't worry. That's okay. That's normal. Perhaps just breathe into that for a moment, that distraction. And then very gently, always with a gentle, caring attitude, returning to the breath, wherever it is, and following it. This delightful way of it leads, we follow. So this marvelous message that I want to leave you with. We get distracted, right? Things happen, kids, life, work, finances, whatever it is. Then we can return to the refuge, to the sanctuary of the breath. And we follow the breath, wherever that is, coming in and going out. Very much like waves in the ocean. So as we're finishing up, may each of you be safe. Perhaps just breathing that message in. Let the breath carry that into the body and out of the body. May you be safe. May you be full of well-being. May you be full of well-being. May you be calm in the midst of the storm. May you be calm in the midst of the storm. And may you be healthy. May you be healthy. And perhaps, maybe you have your own personal or private message that you wish to take with you as we finish up, breathing in and as we're breathing out. And a sweet thank you to Sue and the Whitby Library, because they make this happen. Thank you. And the bells. So, take care.
Thank
Maybe
you
I'll see.
so much, Joan.
Okay, Sue. Maybe
I
I'll
love
see.
ending. I love ending with an exercise like that. I feel completely relaxed now.
Well, that's good.
And we've got lots of thank yous coming in the chat. And good night. And Joan, we only give you a place to do it. You're the one who has the magic voice.
The magic voice. Thanks, Sue. I'm not sure would agree with that, but that's
And
okay.
thank you to the library, because this is the first time I'm attending a meeting like this, and it's wonderful. It was very stressful because I couldn't get online, but I succeeded
Oh
in
no.
the end, and so it calmed me right down to even see your face and to be guided through this kind of breathing exercise.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yes, yes. Thank you. I think, is it Judy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Judy. Well, I'm so glad that you managed to be here.
Yeah. I'm not very techy. I'm in my 80s, and it's kind of hard, but I persevere.
There
Good
you go.
for you.
I think that's wonderful.